Going live.
Hey, how are you all doing? Super excited. We're going to wait for a few people to join us on our live with the Kensington wing from Chelsea and Westminster Hospital. It is World Breastfeeding Week, and we are talking all things feeding the baby. So we're just going to wait for a few people to join. How are you doing? Hello, Minnie and me. Hi, Kensington wing. Let's see. I just need to make sure. Hi, Sandra Cross. I'm just waiting to join in. Bear with me. Hey,
Hey, Tom.
hi, Claire. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. So nice to see you.
So nice to see you too. How's your day been? It's been a beautiful summer day today. Not too hot, not cold at all. How's yours been?
It's been lovely. It's been so nice and chilled with lots of nice wind blowing through. So it's been really relaxing. But I have had so many people texting me all day about today with our questions. So I've been all day thinking about which ones can I try and answer, which ones are going
Oh
to
my
cover
God.
what people want to hear the most.
I know. We've had the same as well. And so the great thing about it is that if we don't get through all of our questions, we can still pop them in the comments box because the live is going to be saved. So we've had a few people join. Thank you so much for joining, Claire and I. And my name is Tox Arature. I'm the CEO and interior designer at the Baby Cut Shop on the Kings Road in Chelsea. And we are celebrating World Breastfeeding Week. And we are talking all things feeding the baby. And Claire is our expert. I'm going to hand over to you to introduce yourself, Claire. Tell the people.
So I am Claire. I'm a midwife. I've worked in maternity units for 10 years now, both in NHS and in private units. And I've been a qualified lactation consultant for a few years now, something which I'm very passionate about because I feel there just isn't enough support out there and there's a lot of misinformation. So I think it's really important to help parents to feed their baby in the way they want because it's such an important thing for them. So if anyone wants to find out more about the Kensington wing, or if you are booked at the Kensington wing and you want to have a one-to-one appointment with me at any point, please feel free to get in contact with us and we can book that in for you. And we'll put the link in our bio for the Kensington wing for you.
Oh, that's perfect. And just before you finished introducing yourself, I thought I need to find out what a lactation consultant is, but you've already answered that. But it's so wonderful to have you. And thank you for all that's joining. This is Claire from the Kensington wing. She's a lactation consultant and we're talking all things feeding the baby. So I'm going to go through some questions that we have with Claire. Don't worry if you don't get through the whole of this, all the questions. We're going to pop them in the comments box. And just for everyone to know, this live is going to be saved on both our platforms. So you can always go back to rewatch and re-educate yourself as we go through. So let's kick off. Question 1, is it normal for a baby to drink 50% of their milk and need a break of 20 minutes before finishing?
Yeah, very normal. And this will depend on whether a mother is breastfeeding or bottle feeding. But I always, when I'm trying to speak to parents about their baby, I always bring it back to myself because I think it makes a lot more sense. It's very normal to sit down and have a meal and to pause and to think you're full and to think you're finished and then actually to think, wait a minute, I want seconds because I'm a little bit hungry or actually that tasted great. So it's really normal to feel that. It's also really normal as well that if a woman is breastfeeding, the baby might latch on one side, feed on that side as the breast starts emptying, they start to fall asleep, and then actually they'll wake up and want to go onto the other side to feed. So we would recommend feeding the babies as they want and just watching them with how they act during the feed. So when I keep saying I always go back to me with how I am, when I'm hungry, I will start my meal quite ravenous, sitting upright, eating fast. And as the meal goes by, I get more relaxed. I recline in my chair. I probably get a bit slower with how often I'm putting food in my mouth. Same with the babies. Watch their behaviour during the feed. Are you seeing them going from being a hungry, alert baby to a more calm, relaxed, sleeping baby? And then maybe they want to go back for seconds, and that's absolutely fine.
And this feeding pattern, does this happen even at night as well? So is it practically throughout the day, throughout the night?
Yeah, it can be at any time. So we try not to tell anybody about a certain type of feed which you should be aiming for, because
Hmm.
it's not normal to expect every feed to be the same. The
That's
same as us on a daily basis. How often we eat and when we want to eat will change depending on the weather. When it's hot, we might want to drink more, to snack more. On a cold day, you might want to sit and have a big meal in front of you. So it does change with every feed. So try not to worry too much about
okay.
aiming for specific times or specific ways the baby should feed. You'll slowly learn with time what's normal for your baby. And as long as your baby is feeding, and we recommend feeding responsively. So this means looking at your baby, and if your baby is showing signs that they want to feed, feeding them. We want to also make sure babies are hydrated, so they're passing enough wet nappies. So after day 6, you'll want 6 heavy nappies, and these are nappies where you can feel the weight
Okay.
inside them. We want at least 2 poos every day as well, once the poos change colour to the nice yellow colour. And as long as the baby is then gaining weight appropriately, then your baby should be feeding beautifully and getting enough.
That's excellent. I think that's really important to note because,
Mm,
especially for first time moms, they tend to go out there and there's a lot of information that's out there.
mm,
And there's family members who's telling you what's right or wrong. And just knowing that every child is different and every baby feeds differently. And presumably as the baby gets older, then they also start to evolve and change as well in the way that they feed. So moms, be flexible and be open and just recognize that every child is unique and the feeding patterns are going to be different from your friends or from other family members from what they have said.
yeah,
Thank
you've literally hit the nail on the head there, Tox. And this is one thing which I always recommend parents to just to bear, to think about. Every feeding journey is very different from one mother, one parent to another child. Even couples who have more babies will find it's different each time.
you.
So do what works for you. Don't try and apply the same rules, because it doesn't work that way. But just overall be happy with what you do, feel confident with what you're doing, and do that, and ask for help if you need it. But don't feel pressured to do anything if it's not right.
Listen,
Very, very
I
important.
had, I wish I had your advice when I was nursing my babies, especially my first one, because
How many babies have you had?
I've had 4 babies, and
Ah,
you're right. They all fed differently, like literally all completely different. But I was so nervous and so just really uncertain with my first because, I'd done all the reading and everything. And I
yeah,
thought I knew what I was supposed to be doing. And
yeah,
then I have the real life moms, friends who have already had babies, mother-in-law, and everyone's telling you to do it differently and to do it. And
yeah.
for a young mom, and for a first time mom, it's a very vulnerable and almost uncertain season, isn't it? And the last
Mm,
thing you want is to be pulled back and forth thinking you're doing it wrong because you're getting conflicting bits of information. So I really love that. Just
mm.
be yourself and be confident in how you're doing it.
Definitely. And you just mentioned there the different forms of support. So we actually do know that peer support, which is support which comes from other, usually mothers and ladies themselves who have breastfed, actually
Mhm.
is one of the most valuable forms of support with breastfeeding. So if anyone does want to access that, the National Childbirth Trust does have a helpline you can get in contact with and speak to other ladies who've breastfed, and they can listen to you and actually understand how you feel, because maybe they were in your position and maybe they've worked through a few things. So they're a really good organisation to get in contact with for some peer support.
That's excellent. And we're going to put the link to them at the
Yeah.
end of the live, just so that everyone can access them. So next question is, I'm currently 6 weeks pregnant. What are the different ways to feed a baby apart from breastfeeding?
Yes, so that is a really a big question, because there are so many different ways that you can actually feed your baby nowadays. My advice would be, when parents are starting to think about their feeding journey, think about what's realistic for them. What do they want to do as a long-term measure, rather than something they're going to be jumping in and out of. People who want to breastfeed, we would recommend trying to really work on the breastfeeding before you think about introducing any other forms of feeding, because we know that it might add some complexities, it might affect your milk production, but it also might make the baby a little bit confused, possibly with the latch, because a baby latching onto a bottle and a breast is a very different thing. But there are some actually really good ways that you can feed your baby in the first few days, which can be actually supportive of breastfeeding. And these are things such as using syringes, using a small little tube, and we call it finger feeding, or using, it's called a cup, which we use for cup feeding for babies. And these can actually be quite protective of breastfeeding if women want to continue with that journey. And these are very good for babies who are still learning how to latch to the breast, or for whatever reason are not able to be with their mother but are still wanting to get that breast milk. So those are some really good things that you can have a look into. Ask your midwife to talk through maybe doing some hand expressing during your pregnancy so you learn how to use the syringes. Ask them to show you the little cups. They're very small. You just bring it up to the baby's mouth, up to their lips, and you allow them just to lap at it like a cat. We don't pour it into their mouth, because we want them to learn that they actually still need to work to get the milk. And then, of course, there's the method that everyone, would think about, the second method, which would be to use a bottle. So bottles, once again, they're a wonderful invention. They have saved so many babies and mothers. So if you do choose that you want to use formula, or for any reason that you want to use express breast milk, then learning how to bottle feed your baby in the right way is the most important thing. And remembering that it's still all about having a close bond with your baby. So I would recommend holding your baby close, having lots and lots of skin to skin, and continuing to feed them responsively. So looking at your baby and thinking, is my baby showing signs that they want to feed, rather than watching a clock, which actually isn't in time with your baby. And then when it comes to feed, having a look at something called gentle bottle feeding or paced bottle feeding. So this is just where you allow the baby to feed very gently in a way that they're not being overwhelmed with too much milk poured down their mouths, and actually they're more likely then to stop when they're ready. It's going to be a more gentle, nice experience for them. So that's a really, really good thing to look into, gentle paced bottle feeding.
That's interesting. So is that different from regular bottle feeding? Is there a difference from that?
Yeah, I think there is. I think as we have moved forward, as time has progressed, we've realised that actually there is a lot to breastfeeding which isn't actually just about the nutritional value. It's about the relationship that mothers can build with their children. And the same with babies who are bottle fed, that's still a lovely moment that baby is with its parent and it's being loved and held and nurtured and feels safe. And we know during these times when babies feel safe, their brain growth is, it goes through the roof. So actually we want this baby to enjoy feeding and to feel close to the mother or father during that feed. So actually trying to make it a calmer experience, rather than a baby who's being maybe forced to have, I don't know, let's say someone many years ago might have been told, feed your baby every 3 hours, 3 ounces or 120 mils, and they're stuffing these babies, trying to get it in them, thinking it's the right thing. That baby's probably quite stressed because it probably feels quite overwhelming, all that milk going into their mouth. So allowing the baby to feed when they want is a much more relaxed experience for them. We also know that
for mom as well.
Yeah,
and that it's also relaxing for mom as well, less stressful.
Totally. And it helps to build really healthy eating habits as well for when you're older. So we know that babies, if they are overfed as infants, might be more likely to overeat as we get older. So actually allowing a baby to take a second, slow the feed down and say, wait a minute, I'm full now, I don't want any more. That's really important, because it's amazing how much food we ourselves can even eat in 20 minutes and then we realise I'm far too full. So the same with your baby, slow the feed down, make it a relaxing, close feed. It's lovely.
That's such a good one. I've never heard that term before, and I'm glad you explained it. And while you were speaking, what came to mind as well is the clean plate community, when moms are like, you must finish everything on your plate. And I remember just growing up and not wanting to eat everything on my plate. I didn't feel like I have to. So I can imagine babies being gently bottle fed. Or, will be able to develop the control and recognize really quickly that they're full up and be confident to stop eating when they're toddlers.
Definitely. I actually got some questions to put ahead for you.
Okay.
I was talking to a few of the mums who do come to the Kensington wing, and they were really interested to hear about the services you offer. So first of all, where is it you're based exactly?
We're based on the King's Road, so we're at 408 King's Road in Chelsea, so around the corner from you. About 8 minutes walk. And we're a baby furniture brand with a boutique and also an interior design service. So quite easy fine. But there's also our website, which is thebabycotshop.com, and moms can shop there as well.
Okay, but what makes you different from other cot shops and other baby shops? Because obviously in Chelsea and in Wandsworth, you know, it's named Nappy Valley for a reason. There are so many children and families. So what makes your shop a bit different from all the others?
So what makes us different is we're a one-stop shop, and so, but we're a one-stop shop for the nursery room. We don't sell things outside of nursery products, for example, and which makes us specialists because we're experts in it. In addition to that, our furniture is all designed in-house and handmade individually to order. So
Very
that's
nice.
yeah, so it's very different from mass-produced pieces that's made in the thousands. All of our furniture is made in the EU. Some of it is made here in the UK as well. And customers have the option to fully customize what they want. So they can have a cot with upholstery like the one behind me. Their Moses baskets can come embroidered with a baby's name. Our leanings and everything is fully customizable, where we design the whole nursery according to their taste, and then we kit out the nursery with our furniture that has been designed to go with the theme that we've chosen.
That sounds lovely. And I think especially we're all now aware of, you know, fast fashion and overbuying products. So to probably get good products, which you can use for numerous babies and pass down, that must be lovely. Yeah, really good.
And you know, one of my pet peeves is driving and seeing cots being tossed away. You know, because it's not good for the planet either, that we have all of this, you know, wood being used and being tossed, or whatever material is being used to make them, you know. And then a cot is such and even just baby furniture is so special. We have some parents who come in and ask us to redress the Moses basket that they slept in as babies.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So it's so special, and it's not the sort of thing that should be tossed away. And so we make them to the highest possible standard, using only hardwood so that it is robust, and of course made to safety standards as well. And one of the advantages of that is of making them individually is if the standards change tomorrow, we adapt immediately. Whereas imagine that another company that has, you know, hundreds or thousands of cots in storage and it's all been made to a previous standard and it can't be amended. We have full control over that. So that's a great thing as well.
Yeah, very important. Parents will never, you know, cut any corners when it comes to their baby's safety. I also do think as well, some of the products you offer would be great as gifts. Grandparents especially want to, you know, provide something for their grandchildren. They're always so excited to be involved and do what they can. So I can imagine that must be quite a nice thing for them to be able to come in and actually buy something which will be useful and can be used, you know, for hopefully a few children possibly.
Exactly. And we do have sometimes grandparents come in and they do a nursery in their own home for the grandchild that's on the way, and they think it's going to serve all our grandchildren as they start to come. So I absolutely agree with you. It's really special. And you know, sometimes we have moms come in and it's a very special occasion. So they might come with their own mom and may come with their sister and their best friend. And it's such an occasion to come and shop for the nursery. We just make them, we feel very lucky to be a part of that process. You know, the most special time in most of our lives is when we're bringing life into the world. So that's a good thing.
And what kind of products do you feel are your best-selling products? What are people looking for at the minute?
At the moment, our best sellers are creams which last for, I don't think it's in view. So we sell creams that last for 6 months because, you know, healthcare authorities require that the baby is in the same room as mom, as the parent, for the first 6 months. And so our cribs look like giant Moses baskets. They're not massive, but they're big enough to house or keep the baby in for the first 6 months. And so those sell really, really well. They're a great investment. And then plus they can be moved to other rooms. They come with lockable wheels, so they can be used in other rooms in the home. That's a bestseller. This is another bestseller. So I'm sitting on the Salome rocking chair, which is
very nice.
It's the plushest, most comfortable rocking chair. It swivels and it rocks. And again, because we make all of our furniture to order, it's fully customizable in any fabric And then, of course, it's made to safety standards. So it's made with the fabric is fire tested and fire resistant and everything. So this is a bestseller. And when it comes to cots, our Tribeca is our best-selling cot bed, and that is all of our cots transition into beds for toddlers, which can be used up until the age of 5. And so they get you get a good wear, a good use from babyhood, from 0 to age 5, and then use it for the next baby, or maybe pass it on to another member of the family. So the Tribeca, I think, is our best seller. And the one behind me is the Balmoral, which is our newest collection, which is just so stylish and was inspired by Bridgerton because of the Regency style, and that's doing quite well as well.
I can imagine. I'm trying to think now of how can I persuade the matron to let us get some of those rocking chairs, because they look great. I think we could do with them in our nursery. I think it's, medically required.
It is necessary. It is. Whenever if I come in and I don't feel like working downstairs in my office, I have my laptop and I'm sitting on here, and I have to work, don't sleep.
So that's probably why they won't let us have them. Too nice and relaxed.
Exactly. And then also we have fathers who come in, and once they sit in it, we've got 3 styles of nursing chairs, but this one's the best seller. They sit down, and we've had fathers fall asleep while we're consulting with mom.
And does that make them want them, or does that put them off getting them?
Oh, no,
they want the dad to be up.
They want them, and they want them from the living room as well, which is great. Transition it into any room in the home, so they're so comfy. And yes, please convince the matron.
I will. Just you wait.
Thank you. Oh, bless. So I have one more question for you, actually, Claire.
Yeah.
And I think that this is important. And the rest of them, I'm going to put them in the comments below so that you can answer them. How can you tell if your baby is full?
So that kind of goes back to part of what I answered in the last question. And I would first of all say is, when you say your baby is full, what is it you're wanting from that feed? Are you wanting that feed to be a nutritional feed, where you're wanting to fill a baby's stomach for hunger or because they're thirsty? But also remember, babies feed for many different reasons. It's not just for nutrition. Sometimes they go to the breast, or they want to have a bottle feed because they want to be close to their parents. Especially with breastfeeding, babies will go to the breast because maybe they're a bit under the weather, they're a bit unwell, and they need to have a bit of an immune boost. And we know breast milk's got lots of antibodies in. Maybe they need to open their bowels and have a big poo. Breast milk has got laxatives, and it also has hormones which help to put babies to sleep as well. So at night time, it is quite normal that babies, when they wake up, might just want a few minutes of breastfeed, and then they might go back to bed. So breastfeeding and bottle feeding, whether that's formula or express breast milk, can be for lots of different reasons. So first of all, I would try and get the mindset of worrying about babies being full or babies being hungry out of my mind. And I would just think, does my baby look like they want to feed? And if they do, I'll respond, and then feed them until they look satisfied. So that's looking at the pace of the feed once again. So if that was a baby on the breast, watching to make sure they've got a good latch and they're quite alert, feeding quite fast, usually at the beginning, settling and getting quite slow. So those sucks and swallows will have bigger pauses as the feed goes by. And we should also see the same with the bottle feed as well. And that shows that the baby's feeding in the normal rhythm. And then when the baby comes off either the breast or the bottle, are they relaxed? Are they chilled? Are they a lot happier than before, than when they went on and they were looking for food? So just watching your baby and how they're responding will usually tell you whether they're full. But I would think of it as, are they satisfied for now? But always remember as well that babies can go back to the breast. They can request, more milk from a bottle. That's perfectly normal. No one judges me, I hope, when I say I'm going to go and have seconds, or I'm going to have desserts after I've had my main meal. So it's the same with babies. We should allow them to feed as they want without questioning why they're doing it. And as long as they're either latching to the breast well, or able to get the milk from a bottle fine, they're weeing fine, they're putting on weight, and you're responding whenever the babies are looking like they want to feed, then actually that's really, really good. So it's not a simple answer. I'm sorry, I can't tell you exactly how to do everything together.
I think it makes perfect sense. And it really, the key word you said was getting out of the mindset of
Mm.
feeling up the baby hungry or
Mm.
full. um, even the word feeding, it doesn't say let's bond with the baby, it says let's feed. And so for many of us, most of us, we are instantly thinking the baby's hungry, and then we
Mm.
worry that they are young, they can't talk, and we just want to make sure that they're okay.
Yeah.
And then we just like give them food, give them food, give them
And
some milk.
hunger is such a negative word. I
Yes.
think the minute you say to a parent, oh, your baby looks hungry, they panic because
Yeah.
that drive to protect and look after them takes over. Whereas
Yeah.
if you actually say, it looks like your baby wants to be close to you and have a feed, you know, that feed could be for comfort. Or I don't know about you, Tox, but sometimes I'm not even hungry, I'm just bored, but I
Yes,
find I'm
that's right.
eating.
Absolutely.
Babies are the same. Sometimes they're bored and they probably just want to do something enjoyable, and actually having a feed is a really enjoyable thing for a baby.
Yeah.
So just realizing it's about more than just the feeding hunger necessity, I think that's really
Yeah.
important.
I think that this comment is going to free a lot of moms from mom guilt,
Mm.
and just really take the burden and the pressure off calculating and counting, like you said. Back
Mm.
then it was every 3 hours, and even when we go through, because a lot of our parents come back in obviously with a baby, sometimes the nursery isn't done until after the baby is born, so they
Yeah.
might use a Moses basket or a crib and a chair, and then come back to choose the rest of the furniture. And I feel really privileged to have had 4 children.
Mm.
I feel like I'm in such a great position to advise them. And
Definitely.
but this has helped me even more, because the great I learned after I had my third son, so I've got 4 sons. I learned
Oh
after I
yeah.
had my third son that the best advice I could give a mom is just do what feels naturally to
Yeah.
you, and don't
Yeah.
respond to the pressure from outside. So I think this has really been, it's really been helpful.
Is
Cool.
it one last question? So obviously you sell wonderful baby products and you help to design nurseries. Is there anything else, any other services that you guys offer?
Yes, so we offer a nursery design service where we go to the home and we
Hmm.
measure and fully kit out and design the nursery, either with as much involvement from the parent as they want to be involved, or with zero involvement. Like we just sign off the design on paper, produce 3D scans, produce 3D drawings, and then let them see what the nursery is going to look like, and then we go
Mm.
to work. So we do the interior design service. We also do sell children's furniture. We don't have, at the moment, we're growing and working on the BCS collection, which is our in-house design. But currently we have some children's furniture available to buy anyway. So we do children, and with our children's collection, it's really an expansion of the existing baby line, so that when the child has outgrown the cot, gone from cot to cot bed and has now grown up, they have
Hmm.
a bed that they can go straight into, but they're still able to keep the chest of drawers, the wall shelf, the wardrobes,
Yeah.
everything from the rest of the collection still fits in. So it's really just a bed version of each of our cots. So we're super excited and look forward to launching that.
Very good. Tox, can you see the comments? I've just been whispered
Oh
that
my
there is
God,
a
that we've
question,
got questions.
but
Okay,
I'm
let
really
me
not
see.
good at Instagram Lives. I don't know
Oh
how
no,
to
it's
work this
fine.
out.
I can see some of them. Okay, so the one, I'm gonna go backwards. So
Tell me
Emily,
which ones you have.
yeah, indeed. She says, can you tell us how tongue tie might affect a breastfeed's journey? Is it something to look out for?
Okay, yes. So that is a very topical subject at the minute. I think it's something which people might have seen in the news recently.
Mhm.
The fact that tongue ties, obviously, there's not as many services out there as we would like within the NHS. And the reason that this obviously is not a great thing is because tongue ties, yes, they can affect feeding, whether that's a baby who breastfeeds or a baby who bottle feeds. And there is so many things to consider, but just to go through it really quickly, everyone has a piece of skin underneath their tongue called the lingual frenulum. It's really normal. It's a part of normal anatomy. But the same with every single part of us, they can be different in how they develop. There's different theories why some babies have a tongue tie and actually it comes further forwards to the tip of their tongue. or it actually holds the tongue down, or it's quite thick, which doesn't allow the baby's tongue to move in different ways. And when a baby breastfeeds, I've got my lovely knitted boob here, thanks to my mum for knitting that. If you need to have any for your shop, let me know.
So cute.
So the baby's tongue needs to be able to go from side to side. It needs to be able to lift. It also needs to be able to curve around the breast to cause like a nice suction, and then also do like a peristaltic wave to get the milk to the back so they're able to actually swallow and breathe. It's a lot of things. So imagine if you had on your tongue a piece of string or anything just pulling your tongue down in some way and you couldn't move it around. It makes it harder to eat. And the things it can affect with mums is it means the babies are not able to latch to the breast, or they just latch to the nipple, and that can be really painful because rather than taking a big wide mouth, they just squash the nipple, and that's not nice for anybody.
I remember that.
I know, and no milk comes out when you're just squashing a nipple. It's like squeezing the end of a straw. It doesn't work. So it can be painful for mums. It can cause milk production problems because it doesn't stimulate the breast effectively. It can also lead to things such as mastitis or engorgement because the milk physically can't come out. They're not latching properly. And then for the poor little babies, it can sometimes affect as well their ability to transfer the milk. They might be able to get the milk or they might not. So sometimes these babies are not able to get enough and their weight gain isn't as good. They might be getting in a lot of air and be very uncomfortable. So it's really important that we look at both mum and baby when it comes to a tongue tie, and look at the feeding. Just having a piece of skin under your tongue, it's not a reason to do anything. We would only ever recommend doing something if we thought it was affecting the feed, whether that's a breastfeed or a bottle feed. So it's not always necessary to cut every tongue tie as it's diagnosed. So it's really about looking at the whole picture and deciding, is it important for you and your baby, or actually is it a normal part of their anatomy? They're latching well, they're weeing well, you're comfortable, leave it alone. It's a part of them. So I would definitely recommend, if anyone mentions anything about tongue tie, go and speak to a specialist, whether that's a lactation consultant, a paediatrician who's trained to assess them and to cut them, or any other tongue tie assessor. At Chelsea, you can be referred to our NHS clinic, and I'm one of the tongue tie practitioners, so I could see you guys there. But what I like to tell people is tongue ties are not always something to be worried about. I would probably say 40% of people who come to my clinic, I actually send them away with other advice, which they implement, and it works instead of doing a procedure.
Okay.
It's good to speak to someone, definitely, and find out everything.
Do you know what? I'm glad you said that, because I would have thought that every case required surgery. However, it's also good to know that that it's not necessarily the case, and that you're actually there where you can consult and help them and advise and so on. So that's really good. Okay, so we have another one. Why is the baby cut shop so expensive? Because you may have missed the first part of our conversation, because our pieces are handmade to order. They are not mass produced like the other brands that are out there. So that's why our prices are different. We do recognize it's not for everyone. And I'm just checking to see if we have any other questions. No. Tell us. Okay, so we've done that one. Oh, there's another one. One more question. Are there any reasons why a mother should not breastfeed?
So that's a really good question. And once again, that's, I think anytime you talk to anyone about feeding a baby, it's a very emotive subject, because it's about your baby, which is the most important thing to you. And there's a lot of emotions attached. And I think also another thing to recognise is we're not in a world which is always there to support people in the natural way of doing things. We move away from our parents. I live hundreds of miles away from my parents. I don't live anywhere near any of my sisters. So actually the support that we may have had many years ago, it's changed. So it is really normal nowadays for people to actually come to us and say, look, I would love to give my baby breast milk, but I'm not going to breastfeed for these reasons. Or actually, I don't want to breastfeed at all, and I don't want to give them breast milk. So it really does depend on the person. We are happy to support you with whatever it is you want to do. There is no point in going to the hospital or having a home birth and feeling pressured to breastfeed or to give a top up of formula if that's something you don't want to do. Do what's right for you. You were talking, I think the main thing you asked then is there any reasons not to breastfeed?
Yeah.
I can't come up with any reasons not to breastfeed as a point blank. I think it is important for us, especially in this day and age when we're a lot more aware of our mental health, and we're a lot more aware of accessing support and identifying when we need to have a little bit more, support from people around us. So breastfeeding actually does have some protective factors. If a lady chooses to breastfeed and she perceives how the feeding is going as successful, she's actually half as likely as the average mum to experience postnatal depression. But we do know if a mum wants to breastfeed but perceives that the feed actually is not successful in how she intended it to go, she's twice as likely to get postnatal depression. So for some ladies who might have pre-existing mental health conditions, or some ladies who might be on certain medications, then actually they might have had a conversation with their obstetrician or their psychiatrist beforehand to talk about actually for them, is it a good thing, and is it safe with regards to their medications, and actually is there any middle ground or is there anything else they could do. So if that is you, I would really recommend speaking to your GP, your pharmacist, to find out, are my medications safe for breast milk? Usually the rule goes, if they're safe for you to take during pregnancy, they're usually then safe for you to continue with feeding a baby afterwards. But maybe having a look and seeing, is there someone I can touch base with who can help to come up with a realistic plan for me and for how I want to feed my baby? I think that's the most important.
Yeah, I agree. And also having at the back of your mind that there's no judgment for whatever choice, you just want
Totally.
to be, especially knowing now that feeding your baby is not entirely about filling their stomachs with food. It's really about, it's a bonding time. It's them getting close to you, letting them touch you, as well as feeding them. So it's
Yeah.
more than just a way of getting food into the little ones.
Yeah. And we don't want parents to see their babies showing signs that they want to feed and to feel dread inside them, thinking, oh, I don't want to
I'm not
do
gonna,
this, it's not
yeah,
right for me. And
yeah,
that's fine. So
yeah.
I always say, decide what you want to do. Obviously, go and have a look and find out what your options are. Get educated and informed so that you can make those decisions which are right for you. And then do what feels right for you. And I have mums who sometimes come to me and it's their third or fourth baby, and maybe they breastfed every single baby, and then this baby they've said, no, I'm going to formula feed or I'm going to breast pump.
Exactly.
And the same the other way, women who have come to me and it's their third baby and they've never breastfed and they say, can I try it this time? Am I allowed? I'm like, yeah, like you do you. We're very
Absolutely.
happy to support whatever you want to do.
That's really good. So Claire, where can people find you?
So I work at the Kensington wing. So if anyone wants to speak to me, so you do need to actually be registered to be receiving private care with us at the Kensington wing, and I can do any antenatal assessments where I come up with a plan with parents about what are their intentions. I educate them so they understand milk production, how baby should latch, how they should feed. So go into a lot more detail. And then I work on the wards, days, night shifts, you name it. So there's a very high possibility that if I look after you at some point, I'll be able to come in and assess your baby with regards to their feeding and give you some support and some advice. And if you are someone who is booked at Chelsea Westminster Hospital and you're referred to the tongue tie clinic, once again, I could see you at some point to have a more in-depth assessment of that baby's tongue and how well they're feeding.
That sounds amazing.
And for you, are people able to just come into the shop, or should they come and make appointments? What kind of
No.
services?
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, the shop's open. For the month of August. We're
Yeah.
open Monday to Saturday from 10 to 6, and we're on Sundays we're open from noon to 4 p.m. So yes, it's a completely walk-in. There's
Fab.
usually an interior designer on site or an expert that can help with putting your list together and helping you choose the right pieces.
Yeah.
And also Instagram DMs are always open, and every social media, and it's at the Baby Cut Shop, and of course on our website as well. But we do offer private appointments as well, because we have some
Yeah.
clients who prefer to be seen in private, and we offer private appointments and just to a full consultation. And if you can't make it to the shop, we come to you. So that's also there. And
Oh, very
videos.
nice.
We do video as well.
Very nice.
Excellent. This has been such an interesting
It's been
conversation.
great. Maybe we should organise coming and doing this a little bit more often and coming and doing some chats in your shop. That'd be good.
You know what? We're definitely going to organise that. I think we need it because you would have thought that after 4 children, I would know all that there is to know about feeding the baby. But I learned so much today. I really did. And I know that the moms and dads that are listening have also learned a lot today. And it's just such a blessing that we have you so close to the baby cut shop, and you're available, and so. But this has been great. Thank you so much, Claire. Look forward to seeing you. I'm gonna pop in next week anyway, so I'll get to see you next week.
So we can talk about getting those chairs.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I didn't fall asleep. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for listening. This live is going to be saved on both the Kensington Wings platform as well as here on the Baby Cut Shop, and you can continue to add questions in. So once it's saved, add the questions in, and Claire's going to answer them because she's promised, and she's always on hand. She's the expert here. But thank you all so much. Have a wonderful weekend. And thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Talk. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.